waste of the week goes to hospitals ignoring transparency legislation and federal dollars being used to demolish an abandoned Alaskan hotel. Joining us right now, the president and CEO of OpenTheBooks.com, Adam Andrzejewski. Adam, good morning to you. Great to see you.
Good morning, Jan.
Let's talk about this investigation conducted by the nonprofit Patients' Rights Advocate Group that found 3 of the largest for-profit hospital chains made $120 billion in 2021 while violating federal transparency laws. So, Adam, talk us through this. What are these transparency rules? What does that entail?
So it's great common sense rulemaking that spans a couple of administrations. It's a great example of bipartisan healthcare reform, Jan. So the Trump administration proposed and executed on a rule where hospitals, for the first time in history, would be mandated to post their prices for services. Now, this wouldn't be revolutionary if this was at the grocery store or at the gas station. You know, we would never buy a loaf of bread without seeing the prices, but that's how we buy healthcare. And the Biden administration last fall finalized that rule. And here's what it did. It took the healthcare industry, and the best analogy on this is like a baseball game. The healthcare industry was blindfolding the patients, the batter, while running up the score at will, and that was the prices, and they were making big profits.
And Adam, this rule is supposed to promote competition between hospitals, as you mentioned, so patients can shop around to find the best deal for medical procedures. But your own investigation that you conducted back in 2019, studying nonprofit healthcare providers, found that these hospitals that got major tax breaks for their nonprofit status did the same thing. What did you find?
Well, we found these nonprofit hospitals, 82 of the largest in the country, that serve 1 out of every 7 patients in the country. These nonprofit hospitals were racking up big profits. Jan, 2 points on the record. Number one, the return on investment in 2019 was 24%, and they had hundreds of billions of dollars worth of net assets on their balance sheets. Number two, their CEOs were getting rich while the American people were getting healthcare poorer. In some of the largest nonprofit groups, we found that the CEOs over a 4-year period, like at Ascension, were making up to $59 million of cash compensation. The CEO of Kaiser made $30 million in that 4-year period of cash compensation. Advocate Healthcare in Illinois, their CEO made $27 million worth of compensation. So these nonprofits oftentimes were making big profits.
So what type of repercussions could these hospitals face for failing to be transparent and for doing this?
Well, they can be fined underneath this rule finalized by the Biden administration for up to $2 million per year, the Wall Street Journal found. And look, the hospitals have resisted posting their prices. Even though it's now the rule, only 14% of hospitals are actually doing it. And the 3 largest hospital chains aren't posting their prices at all.
I also want to talk about this other investigation that you guys conducted. This week, you took a look at the details behind taxpayers footing a $10 million bill to tear down an abandoned Alaskan hotel. What's this all about, Adam? What are the details behind this?
Well, this was an earmark stuffed in the last omnibus spending bill on the budget. And what it did was a Republican U.S. Senator Lisa Murkowski from Alaska tucked this little pet project in for Fairbanks, Alaska. $10 million, Jan. You and I, our tax dollars, into Fairbanks to rip down an old, moldy, decrepitated hotel. And look, they need to rip down their own hotels. Why are you and I paying the freight in Fairbanks, Alaska?
And we know a lot of lawmakers try to stuff their own personal pet projects in here, but that's a fair question. Why isn't the Fairbanks community paying for this?
Well, this is why we say earmarks, and this is a example of that pet member project stuffed in a bill to try to bribe a vote. This is why we say earmarks are the currency of corruption in Congress, because you and I shouldn't be paying to rip down that old moldy hotel in Fairbanks, Alaska.
No doubt. Adam Andrzejewski, always great to see you. Happy Friday. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jan.